Emily. It's been a while since we met before. How are you doing?
Hey, Sarah. It has been a while. How have you been?
I've been doing well. Actually, there's going to be a high school reunion in 2 months. And I'm one of the organizers of the reunion. So, Emily, would you be able to come and help out with the reception or something?
Oh, I see. Well, that does seem really exciting, but unfortunately, depending on the date, I might not be able to attend the reunion. So I think being an organizer would be difficult for me. I'm sorry about that.
Really? Well, you're not being very helpful.
I'm sorry, I'm just really busy these days.
Busy? Are you working? Or is it something like caregiving?
It's work.
So, you're actually working hard, huh? You haven't changed since high school. I know that you've always been poor, Emily. You were by far the poorest in our class, and your house was a dump.
Well, we were a single-parent household.
And I guess you're still poor. Hey, I just want to remind you, don't come to the reunion looking shabby, okay? If you show up in inappropriate attire, we'll have to kick you out.
Don't worry, I'll dress properly. Besides, I'm not the same as I was back then.
But you didn't go to college, right? There aren't many jobs available for high school graduates. So I assume you can't expect a good salary. In other words, you're probably not earning much right now.
Actually, I went to a vocational school after I had my child.
Oh, that's right. I heard you had a child right after high school. It's funny how poor people tend to have children despite not having money.
That's not necessarily true for all poor people. It was tough having a child at a young age, but I don't regret it. My daughter has grown up to be a fine person. How about you, Sarah? Are you married now?
Actually, I was married in the past, but we separated before having children. And now I'm living with my parents again. To be honest, it's much more comfortable now returning back home.
Oh, why's that?
Well, my parents' house is spacious, and Mom takes care of all the housework.
Come to think of it, your family home was quite luxurious.
I know. That's because Dad was an executive at a big company. He's retired now, but he's working for another major corporation.
He's still working, huh? That's really impressive.
He was headhunted for skills and experience. Now he's a branch manager.
Skilled people are always in demand. I guess that must be tough.
I know, right? We have more money than we know what to do with. It's like, what's the point of earning more? No matter how much we spend, we never run out of money.
That's quite a luxurious problem to have.
I guess that is something you'll never get to experience, Emily.
True, I think you can never have too much money. You never know what life might throw at you. I wouldn't want my child to worry about her future.
That's such a poor person's mentality. I've never had to worry about money in my life.
You're very fortunate. You must cherish your current situation.
I always have. Speaking of which, are you actually going to be able to come to the reunion? It would be great if everyone can meet up again.
I'll try my best to make it. It would be nice to catch up with old classmates.
Just remember what I said about dressing appropriately. We can't have you embarrassing the rest of us.
I understand, Sarah. I'll make sure to dress suitably for the occasion.
Good. So, tell me more about your daughter. What's she doing now?
She recently graduated and started working at a company.
Oh? Which company? Is it local?
Yes, it's a local company. She just started out, learning the ropes.
I see. Well, I hope she does better than you did. No offense, but you weren't exactly a high achiever in school.
People change, Sarah. My daughter is her own person, and she's doing well.
If you say so. Anyway, I've got to run now. I have lots of planning to do for the reunion. So try to make it if you can, Emily. It'll be interesting to see how everyone turned out.
I'll do my best. Take care, Sarah.
You too, Emily. I guess I'll see you at the reunion, if you can afford a proper outfit.
I enjoyed attending yesterday's reunion. Thank you for organizing it, Sarah.
You're welcome. By the way, I just found out something really interesting that I need to tell you. After the reunion, I was talking to Dad about you.
About me?
I told him about this really poor classmate of mine. Then he said someone with the same last name as yours just started working at his branch. The graduation school is local too, so I was thinking that it might be a relative of yours.
Actually, my daughter just started working this year. Her name is Olivia.
I knew it. It's the same name. What a coincidence.
Yeah, it's quite a surprise.
The world is smaller than we think. You know, Dad's company is pretty good. I'm surprised your daughter managed to get a job there. It's not like you could have used connections or anything.
Well, she did work really hard during her job search.
Come on. That's not enough to get into a company like that. Did your daughter even go to college?
Yes, she did.
Well, good for her. State schools have cheaper tuition, but even that must have been a struggle for someone poor like you.
It was fine. We managed without any problems.
Wow. You must have worked really hard to earn enough as a high school graduate. That's actually pretty impressive.
I guess so.
You know, Dad is usually kind, but he's quite strict at work, so your daughter might have a tough time. Of course, if she's capable, it won't be a problem, but being your child, I wouldn't expect much.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you were always clumsy, weren't you? Won't your daughter be the same? I was involved in various activities like the cultural festival committee during our school days, but you never did anything notable, and your grades weren't that good either.
That's because I was always working part-time jobs to help my mother.
Poor people are really pitiful. I wonder if that's why there are so many stupid people among the poor. Stupidity is hereditary, so it's a vicious cycle, isn't it?
That was in high school. I've changed since becoming an adult, and my daughter is different from me. She was involved in various activities during her school days, like student council and volunteering.
Really? Your daughter in the student council? Is she really your child?
Yes, she is. Anyway, I'm sure that my daughter will be fine.
I hope so. I'll tell Dad to educate her properly since she's from a poor family.
There's no need for that. My daughter is capable and hardworking.
We'll see about that. I'm just trying to help, you know.
I appreciate your concern, but I'm sure Olivia will do well on her own merits.
If you say so, but don't come crying to me if things don't work out.
Don't worry, I won't. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss about the reunion?
Not really. I just thought you'd want to know about the coincidence with your daughter working for my dad.
I see. Well, thank you for letting me know.
You're welcome. I'll keep you updated if I hear anything about how she's doing.
That's not necessary, Sarah. I'd rather hear it from my daughter directly.
Suit yourself. I was just trying to be helpful.
I understand. Why don't we change the subject? How did you think the reunion went overall?
Oh, it was a smashing success, if I do say so myself. Everyone seemed to have a good time, don't you think?
Yes, it was a nice opportunity to catch up with old classmates.
Did you see how successful most of our classmates have become? It's amazing how far we've all come.
Everyone has their own path in life. Success means different things to different people.
And that's such a typical thing for someone unsuccessful to say. But I suppose you have to comfort yourself somehow.
Actually, I'm quite content with my life, Sarah, so I don't need to compare myself to others.
If you say so. Anyway, I've got to run. I'll let you know if I hear anything about your daughter from Dad.
As I said before, that's not going to be necessary. Take care, Sarah.
You too, Emily. Try not to work too hard in your whatever job you have. Hey, Emily, I heard your daughter is in trouble.
What do you mean?
Dad told me your daughter is completely useless. Looks like she's incompetent, just like you.
Is that true? I can't believe this.
Haven't you heard anything from her?
No, nothing in particular.
Apparently, your daughter is getting scolded by Dad every day. Dad was complaining that work isn't progressing because of your daughter. I wonder who was stupid enough to hire her.
She's a new graduate, so I hope they'll be a bit more lenient. Besides, it's only October. Isn't it too early to write her off?
Dad has a lot of experience in the corporate world, but he says he's never seen such a useless new graduate before. Maybe your daughter's hiring was a mistake? Perhaps her face was just the HR person's type?
Stop insulting my daughter, and don't put strange ideas into your father's head. Don't manipulate information to make my daughter look bad.
What? I don't understand. Why would I do such a thing?
You have always targeted me and have been mean to me since the old days. Are you planning to target my daughter now? My daughter has nothing to do with me, so stop meddling.
Don't say such awful things. I've never been mean to you.
Don't you remember? In high school, you told our classmates to ignore me. I know all about that.
Sure, I know that you were an outcast in our class for a while, but that wasn't my fault. It's your paranoia.
I know why you did that. It's because the boy you liked confessed to me back then, right? You thought, how dare a poor girl be so audacious?
Are you saying I was jealous of you? Don't flatter yourself. There's no way I would envy a poor person like you. You're inferior to me in every way.
But I know that your pride was hurt when the boy you liked chose me.
Oh, that's enough. This conversation is going nowhere. I don't have time to listen to your delusions.
Anyway, my daughter has nothing to do with me, so just leave her alone. And be sure to tell your father not to be prejudiced against his subordinates.
I'm not prejudiced, and neither is Dad. We're just stating the facts. Your daughter is underperforming, and that's on her, not us.
Has it occurred to you that maybe she's being treated unfairly? That perhaps the expectations are unreasonable for a new graduate?
Dad wouldn't do that. He's fair to everyone. If your daughter is struggling, it's because she's not up to the job.
I find that hard to believe. My daughter has always been a hard worker and a quick learner.
Well, maybe she's finally met her match. Not everyone is cut out for the corporate world, you know.
I think you're jumping to conclusions. It's only been a few months since she started.
A few months would actually be plenty of time to prove yourself. If she hasn't done that by now, she probably never will.
That's a very narrow-minded view, Sarah. People develop at different rates.
In the business world, you either sink or swim. Looks like your daughter is sinking.
I think we should just end this conversation. You clearly have a biased view of the situation.
Fine by me. But don't say I didn't warn you when your daughter gets fired.
That won't happen. My daughter is more capable than you give her credit for.
And we'll see about that. I'll keep you posted on what Dad tells me.
Please don't. I'd rather not hear any more of your biased reports.
Suit yourself, but don't come crying to me when it all falls apart. My dad, the branch manager, just fired your daughter.
What did you say?
He said she never learned the job no matter how long it took, and her work attitude was poor. Like mother, like daughter, both incompetent.
I recently heard from my daughter, too. She said that she was being treated unfairly by the branch manager. So I told her to stand up for herself. Don't tell me he fired her because he didn't like being challenged.
That's what happens when you defy the branch manager. What a stupid parent and child. Bottom feeders like you should work at the same small, weak company.
Which branch manager is he? Just bring him to the head office immediately. I haven't heard any reports about such an unreasonable branch manager in our company.
Huh? Who do you think you are? What do you mean, bring him?
I'm telling you to bring him to the head office where I am. Let's hear about this directly from your father. I'll also gather detailed information from the employees of that branch.
What are you talking about? Explain it so I can understand. Why are you saying you're at the head office?
I am from the head office, and my position is actually much higher than your father's.
What? You work at the same company as Dad? How? Aren't you just a high school graduate?
Even high school graduates can get jobs at big companies if they work hard. And I'm actually the fastest rising female employee to become a manager at the head office. And I'm not lying. You can easily verify this if you look it up. I'm not stupid enough to tell such an obvious lie. It would only embarrass me if I did.
But why didn't you say anything about this?
I have been keeping the fact that she's my daughter a secret. I didn't want to interfere because favoritism wouldn't help her grow. But I can't tolerate unfair dismissal.
No, you're wrong. Your daughter really was useless. She was a hindrance to the company.
Excuse me? But my daughter has been working for our company as an intern since her college days. From a different perspective, her work was highly evaluated at that time. Of course, I kept her relationship to me a secret then, too. It's strange that her evaluation has changed so drastically.
But Dad judged her to be useless. Dad is very experienced. Dad isn't wrong.
That's why we need to clarify if the branch manager's evaluation is correct. I'll conduct interviews with other employees and make a fair judgment. If my daughter really is the problem, I'll apologize. But if this turns out to be an unfair dismissal, you know what will happen, right?
What? Are you trying to threaten my father's job?
I'm not threatening anyone. I'm simply stating that there will be consequences for unfair treatment of employees.
This is ridiculous. You can't just waltz in and start making demands.
I'm not making demands, Sarah. I am following company protocol for investigating potential misconduct.
But you're biased. You can't investigate your own daughter's case.
I won't be conducting the investigation personally. I'll assign an impartial team from HR to handle it.
This is all a misunderstanding. I'm sure if we just talk to Dad, he can explain everything.
That's exactly what we're going to do. Your father will have the opportunity to explain his actions to the investigation team.
But what if Dad really did do something wrong?
Then he'll have to face the consequences just like any other employee would.
You can't do this. Our family's reputation is at stake.
Your family's reputation doesn't give your father the right to mistreat employees, Sarah.
You're enjoying this, aren't you? Getting back at me for how I treated you in school?
This isn't about high school, Sarah. This is about maintaining a fair and professional work environment.
But you have to understand, Dad's under a lot of pressure. Managing a branch isn't easy.
I understand that, but it doesn't justify mistreating employees or making unfair dismissals.
Maybe there's been a misunderstanding. Can we just sweep this under the rug?
No, Sarah, that is not how a reputable company operates. We need to address this properly.
This is absurd. I'm going to call Dad right now and warn him about you.
Go ahead, because I don't mind. But remember, interfering with an official company investigation could have severe consequences.
You're just trying to scare me. This won't change anything.
We'll see about that. I'll be in touch with the results of the investigation. It's finally been decided. Your father will be fired.
What? No way.
We conducted interviews with the employees. It turns out your father was a terrible branch manager. He forced unpaid overtime, yelled at employees, and even made inappropriate comments to female staff. Moreover, this branch had the worst performance nationwide.
What do you mean? How come my dad's branch is the worst?
There's only one reason. Your dad is incompetent at his job.
No, that can't be true.
Also, I looked into a few other things. I couldn't confirm the fact that your father was headhunted. It seems he originally wanted to work at the head office, but ended up at a branch instead.
But that's different from what I heard. Dad said he was asked to take his current position.
I just spoke directly with your father. He begged for forgiveness on his knees. He admitted to treating my daughter unreasonably based on the information from you.
I didn't lie about anything.
You told him I was an unmanageable problem child, didn't you? And you said the same baseless things about my daughter. You even said she should be fired quickly before she causes trouble.
That's...
Just confess. You and your father worked together to try to frame my daughter, didn't you?
I'm sorry. Yes, I did lie a little.
Grown adults who can't distinguish between right and wrong. Your father, too. Aren't you both ashamed of yourselves?
It's my fault. Dad was just deceived by me. Please don't fire him.
The reason for firing the branch manager isn't just about my daughter. There are various other issues to this decision.
Then just take away his position as branch manager and keep employing him. We'll be in trouble if Dad becomes unemployed.
Why? Don't you have plenty of money?
That was in the past. Our whole family has a spending problem, and now we barely have any savings left. Dad is the only one working in our family. If he becomes unemployed, we'll be in trouble. The whole family will end up in the streets.
I see. Well, if it's that bad, why don't you and the others try working too?
Mom has a bad back and can't work. And since I have no work experience, I can't find a good job. Plus, I have debts.
You spent so much that you're in debt? Oh, you are so helpless.
A lot happened. Remember I told you I got divorced? It was because I had an affair. I had to pay settlement money and such.
Well, that's your own doing.
Anyway, we'll be in trouble if only Dad becomes unemployed. Moreover, getting fired for causing problems will hurt Dad's pride. It will also tarnish Dad's perfect career record.
Listen carefully. Your father is incompetent. Not only did he worsen the company's performance, but he also harmed our young employees, who are company assets. That is a huge loss for the company.
But still...
A company isn't like high school. We're not lenient enough to keep an incompetent person who just has a big attitude. Someone we know always has a big attitude despite being incompetent, right?
Hey, are you talking about me?
Yes, I am.
How am I incompetent? I took on various prominent roles like in the cultural festival, didn't I?
But I often heard that you only gave orders without doing anything yourself. In fact, I heard that things went more smoothly when you weren't around.
Who said such things?
Your entourage always said such things behind your back. They said they only hung out with you because you were from a rich family.
I thought they were my friends.
It was you who was branded as incompetent, and it has been that way for a long time.
I don't know what to say. This is all too much to take in.
I understand it's a shock, but these are the facts. Your father's behavior has been unacceptable, and the company can't overlook it.
But what are we supposed to do now? Our whole life was built around Dad's job.
That's something you and your family will have to figure out. The company can't be responsible for your personal financial decisions.
Can't you give Dad one more chance, for old time's sake?
Sarah, this isn't about our history. This is about running a company responsibly. Your father's actions have affected many employees negatively.
But what about my mother and me? We're going to be homeless because of this.
I'm sorry, but that's not the company's responsibility. You're adults. You need to take responsibility for your own lives.
That's easy for you to say. You've clearly done well for yourself.
Yes, I have, but it wasn't handed to me. I worked hard for it, even when people like you looked down on me.
I'm sorry for how I treated you. I never imagined you'd end up in this position.
Apology accepted, but it doesn't change the current situation. Your father will be fired, and that's final, Sarah. It's time to face reality. Your father's actions have consequences, and so do yours.
Is there really nothing you can do? No position you could give him, even a lower one?
I'm sorry, Sarah, but that decision is final. Your father's behavior was unacceptable, and the company can't overlook it. Keeping him in any position would be irresponsible of the company.
I understand. I don't know what we're going to do. How am I supposed to support my family?
That's not my problem to solve, Sarah. Your family's financial difficulties are a result of your own choices.
Can't you show some compassion? We grew up together.
Compassion? Like the compassion you showed me all those years ago? Or the compassion you showed my daughter when you lied about her to get her fired?
I know I've made mistakes, but please, Emily, we're desperate.
That's something you'll have to figure out on your own, Sarah, just like I had to figure out how to support myself and my daughter all those years ago. I suggest you start by looking for a job yourself. It's time you stood on your own 2 feet.
But who would hire me? I have no experience working.
Everyone starts somewhere. You might have to take an entry-level position, but it's better than doing nothing.
I suppose you're right. It's all so overwhelming.
Unfortunately, life often is. But you must try to adapt and move forward. That's what I did when I was struggling.
I see that now. I'm sorry I never tried to understand your situation before.
Water under the bridge. Just focus on what you need to do now.
You're right. Thank you for being straightforward with me, even after how I treated you.
That's what professionals do, Sarah. Personal feelings aside, we deal with the facts.
I have a lot to learn, don't I?
We all do, every day. That's part of life and work.
I guess you're right. By the way, will you let me know if you hear of any job openings that I might be qualified for? Please, Emily, I'll do anything, because I'm desperate enough to work harder than anyone else. I'll start at the bottom. I'll do whatever it takes.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be that simple. Our company has standards and procedures for hiring. We can't just give you a job because you're in a difficult situation. So I can't promise anything, but if I hear of something suitable, I'll let you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just remember, any job I might mention would be based solely on its requirements, not on our history or your current situation.
I understand. I wouldn't expect any favors.
Good. Now, I have a lot of work to do, including dealing with the fallout from your father's actions.
Of course, I'll let you go. And Emily, I'm sorry for everything. Thank you for taking the time to explain all of this to me.
You're welcome, and I hope you mean that. I just want you to remember how it feels to be looked down upon and to be judged unfairly. And next time you're tempted to treat someone else that way, think twice.
I will. I promise.
Good luck to you, Sarah, and your family. I really hope you can turn things around. Sarah's father had been fired. As a result, her family is now struggling financially and can't even seem to pay a mortgage. After defaulting on the loan, her family assets were seized. I heard that the family has just dispersed ever since that incident. Sarah was last witnessed sleeping in a park in tattered clothes, and since then her whereabouts have been unknown. And as for my daughter, her dismissal was revoked, and now she's been transferred to a different branch. Even there, the fact that she's my daughter is a kept secret. But I hear she's doing quite well. I'm not interfering with my daughter's work and letting her do as she pleases, but I'll always be here to support her. Because whether she succeeds or fails, it will be a good learning experience for her. I did step in when Sarah's father tried to fire my daughter, but that was because others were being affected too, causing a big impact to our company. Since then, I've been careful not to spoil my daughter. That's what real parental love is about, guiding without controlling, supporting without spoiling. Life certainly takes unexpected turns. Who would have thought Sarah and I would end up in these positions? If Sarah hadn't been so spoiled growing up, maybe she wouldn't have turned into such a hopeless adult. From this experience, I hope Sarah learns that lesson too, and will be able to turn things around in her life someday. Thank you for watching until the end. If you found this video satisfying, please hit the like button. If not, please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your ratings and comments encourage us to create more content. We have many more videos that will give you that satisfying feeling, so please check out our other videos on this channel. We'll see you in the next video.